What's up, everybody? This is Passion9, the Otaku Flame, and I've got a ton of anime to talk about. It's a summer anime blowout, guys. This summer anime season is absolutely wild. There's just all kinds of good shit I've been wanting to talk about that just started airing. All these new shows that are in their early episodes that I've sampled. I've sampled every one of them. I've got 5 shows I want to talk about. Let's get started with Night of the Living Cats. This show is basically what would happen if you had a zombie apocalypse, but instead of zombies, it's cats. It's just cats. It's a cat outbreak, or as the show calls it, the cat apocalypse, cat apocalypse, or NEAP, something like that. Anyway, it's a really funny show where some kind of virus breaks out, because it's always a virus of some kind, and everybody turns into cats, like just plain old house cats, just cute, adorable cats. So the thing is, you might be thinking, oh, this is a horror anime, like some weird, freaky horror anime where the cats like eat people and then they turn into cats. No, no, the cats are friendly. They're just normal, regular house cats. They're just regular cats. But they take over all of Japan. Everybody who gets touched or cuddles with a cat turns into a cat. So it's just an apocalypse where uh, humans are just being eliminated from the picture. They're just all turning into cats. Um, that's the premise of this show. It's a comedy. It's just a freaking comedy. It's a parody of the zombie apocalypse genre, and what makes it work so freaking well, what makes this show so funny, is that it does like it does all of the tropes. At least in the first episode, it does a lot of the tropes of like the zombie apocalypse stories that you would expect, right? If you've ever seen any zombie apocalypse show or played any zombie apocalypse games or whatever, this anime like covers that right in the first episode. Right in the first episode, we have 2 of our main characters running away from cats. But again, they're not like, dangerous or deadly cats or mutated cats. These are just regular cats. But they don't want to lose their humanity. They don't want to stop being people. But at the same time, the real tragedy of this scenario and why the surviving humans are so sad and devastated by this is that they can't cuddle with cats anymore because they'll turn into them. They can't pet the cats. Imagine a universe where you can't pet cats. Well, that's the real horror of this show. It's terrifying and also hilarious because because the show plays it totally straight. It plays it totally seriously, but that's what makes it so funny. The characters are actually like really distraught and devastated that they can't pet cats anymore. They can't cuddle with them. The cats just want to run up to people and rub up on them and cuddle with them and purr with them, and they can't. They have to resist the cuteness of the cats. You know, like in the real world, we don't have to worry about that. But imagine if that actually happened. That's what this show deals with. You know, these adorable felines are just meowing everywhere, all over the city streets and alleys and everywhere. They've taken over, and these surviving humans just have to resist the cuteness of the cats. They have to just survive and run away from them. And it's just like any other zombie apocalypse situation, only far less grotesque. And there's even a really funny scene where one of the characters, one of the main dudes, uh, there's this guy who's like one of the main characters is this dude who is just a huge, huge cat lover. He is like as big a cat lover as you could possibly be. So this is like the worst thing that could have happened for him. And at one point, he has to carry like they carry like water hoses with them, and they spray the cats with the water to keep them back, but they resist. They don't want to. The one guy doesn't want to do it. He's so afraid of, you know, uh, 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 harming the cats in any way, that even spraying them with water is like this terrifying act. You know, in a zombie movie, it would be like, oh man, I don't want to shoot these zombies. They were once people. In this case, it's just, I don't want to spray water at these cats because cats don't like water. And as he's doing it, he's like, I'm sorry. And it's freaking funny. This show is hilarious. It's just so good. Like, just the, if any of that sounds hilarious to you, just believe me, it is. Like a cat apocalypse. It it literally is just everything you could imagine in an apocalypse story, but with cats. And I will say, like, I've heard some complaints from people that the animation is not the best. It's not the flashiest show in the world by any means. Sometimes the cats are CG rendered, sometimes they're not. It's not as glaring as it sounds, though. It's not as jarring as it sounds. It's not. I didn't find it very distracting, but yeah, it's really fucking funny. Um, Honestly, I didn't care much about the animation quality when the show is just so fun to watch. The idea is just so freaking funny. And we even get that the show starts with them running away from the cats and trying to survive. We got survivors who are trying to run away. At one point, one of them is shown turning into a cat after he gets cuddled to death. Well, not to death, but gets cuddled and then turned into a cat. And it's really funny. I don't want to spoil that. You just got to watch the episode. But as soon as I saw that, one of the survivors turned into a cat, and they look back. They're running away, and they look back and they say, "Oh no, it's got to him!" And he's just this cute orange tabby just sitting there with like the the clothing is just all falling on the ground and everything, and he's just this fat orange tabby just sitting there looking chill. And this horror music plays in the background. This like heavy grunge music is playing, and it's like boom, 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 and it's supposed to be intense, but that's the joke. Like obviously, it's not scary at all. It's funny as hell. But the show treats it like it's a like it's a scary apocalypse situation. So like this is the ultimate zombie parody that doesn't even involve zombies. I'm surprised that we haven't had like somebody come up with this sooner in other media because uh, man, it's just such a funny idea. But if any of that sounds even remotely compelling, you should watch this show. It's also, interestingly enough, partly directed, I think, by Takashi Miike, the legendary Japanese filmmaker Takashi Miike, um, which I guess isn't that crazy because he's done plenty of strange movies and plenty of strange ideas of his own. But it's based on a manga series, I think, a short manga series or something. And it'll be interesting to see if the entire show, I don't know how many episodes it's going to run for, but it'll be interesting to see if the entire show can keep up the joke and keep it funny for the whole series. But there is a central mystery as well. The main character doesn't, like the guy who's obsessed with cats, has amnesia. So he doesn't remember his life before, um, not very long before the cat outbreak happened. But he was running a cat cafe with a bunch of people that took him in. He lost his memory. They found him outside in the street somewhere. And he, for some reason, is extremely knowledgeable about cats, but he doesn't remember why. So there is a central mystery that I guess will be uncovered as the show goes along. Like, why is this guy such a cat expert? And could he be tied to the outbreak in some way? I don't know. But that's something to think about. That there's some, you know, Jason Bourne antics going on here with the amnesia of the main character, and instead of espionage, he's just a guy who knows a whole lot about cats and doesn't remember why. So it's part Jason Bourne and part zombie apocalypse, only with cats. Watch this freaking show; it's really good. Anyway, that's number one. Number two, we got City, the animation from Kyoto Animation, one of the best anime studios around. They always knock it out of the park when it comes to visuals. Their anime always look absolutely just jaw-droppingly gorgeous. And City might actually be the best looking Kyoto anime I've seen since Violet Evergarden. Now, obviously, this is a very different style than Violet Evergarden, but it is in a similar way to that show. It made my jaw hit the floor because these still images, these still shots are not going to do it justice. They may look pretty, they have nice colors, but believe me when I say it's when you see this anime in motion that it is mind-blowingly beautiful. um, it's really nice. The eye candy alone is probably reason enough to at least check this show out. Unless you really, really hate quirky slice of life comedies, because that's what this is. A lot of people have told me it's very similar to like Ninja Chow. Ninja, Ninja. Okay, I forget how you say that title, but there was that show, and that also involved slice of life comedy antics, but that was about high schoolers. This one's about college kids and a whole lot of other people around this big city that the anime is set in. And there's just a lot of wild, silly antics and comedy. It doesn't seem like this show is going to have too much of an overarching story, but be more about the daily lives of these characters. It is super, super funny. Like, I've never seen Nijicho, but I do know that this show is from the same manga author, and the comedy is really funny. It's definitely my kind of slice of life humor. It's very silly, it's very goofy. There's a lot of like weird, quirky humor that is nevertheless always super lighthearted. So, it's very accessible, very kind of uh, family friendly humor, but it's nevertheless really funny humor. And I dig it. I dig it a lot. But the animation is what really makes me want to watch more of this show. The characters are super charming and super adorable as you would expect in a Kyoto anime, but it's a nice change of pace from their usual style. Like I said, Kyoto anime, they usually have a style that's pretty recognizable. They usually do a style that's pretty recognizable. Something more in line with like Kobayashi Dragon Maid. That's more of their usual style. But this, like I said, much like Violet Evergarden, was a break from, their moe style into something a bit more lifelike, a bit more realistic. This is just like a manga come to life, albeit with lots of color. But it really does look like a moving manga. The animation, the line work is just striking. I've never seen an anime that looks quite like it, and I definitely look forward to watching more. So check that out if you like slice of life comedies. Uh, oh, I forgot to mention, Night of the Living Cat is on Crunchyroll. This is on Prime. You'll have to see this on Prime Video through High Dive if you have that. So yeah. Next we have Turkey. Time to Strike Turkey. This is a bowling anime, which was interesting enough to start with because I don't think I've ever heard of anime involving bowling before. I don't think that's ever been done, which is kind of bizarre when you think about it. I don't know how popular bowling is in Japan, how much of that they do, but it must have some kind of presence because it's pretty big in this show. But what seems like it's going to be just a slice of life bowling anime in the beginning, in the first episode, we find out by the end of the first episode that that is absolutely not the case. This isn't just a bowling anime, guys. This is a bowling anime with time travel antics. And that's what really sold me on it. It turns out that we have a bunch of girls here that love to bowl. They're a big bowling team. They're also all friends, and they just like to go bowling together and compete against other teams. And the whole first episode is just setting up that premise. It almost, I'm pretty sure it's a rug pull and it was meant to be a rug pull, but it seems like it's just going to be a slice of life show about bowling. And I will say the first episode does a really good job of setting up its characters. Right off the bat, the writing does a really good job of like having all these characters kind of bicker with each other after losing a game against the other team. And right away we kind of learn all of their personality traits, who they all are, what they're all about. Because a lot of times when you have a big cast of characters like this, a bunch of cute girls like this, there's always the danger of the show just kind of having them blur together, and you don't really get enough, you don't get enough well-defined characteristics to remember who's who and, what they're all about. Luckily, this show sets that up very quickly. I liked these characters pretty quickly because, yeah, they all have well-defined traits. Albeit pretty, typical, relatively cliche traits, but nevertheless, they're immediately fun and enduring characters. And yeah, I was ready for this to just be like a cute bowling anime. Well, it's a lot more than that, because by the end of the first episode, well, I don't want to spoil too much. It's probably better off if you go in not knowing entirely. But if you don't want spoilers, just skip ahead. But spoilers, at the end of the first episode, these girls all get transported back in time somehow to the Sengoku period of Japan, where you've got samurai and bandits and little tiny villages. And what I ended up loving about this show is that it is stupid. It is adorably stupid. It is the kind of stupid premise that, anime does really well, where these girls end up using their bowling. They end up using their bowling skills and their bowling balls that they got transported back in time with to solve problems. Like they end up having to rescue somebody from the samurai, and they end up using their bowling balls to do that. Now, I could sit here and explain how that works, how they use their bowling balls to get out of that situation, but it's much better if you just watch the goddamn show, because it's fucking funny. It's really funny. And also really stupid. But it's the kind of stupid that I appreciate. And this show is definitely funny. Like right away, that sold me on the premise. I was like, okay, that's weird. That's different. That's a twist. Not only have we never had a bowling anime before, but we've never had a time travel bowling anime before. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to watching more of this. This is definitely an interesting gem this summer that I hope doesn't get overlooked, because it's different. But moving right along, we've got a new season of Panty and Stocking. In fact, it's literally just called New Panty and Stocking. Now, for those of you who never ever heard of or saw this show before, this aired back 15 years ago. It was released by Gainax, and it's an extremely ridiculous, vulgar anime comedy about these two angel girls that fight demons, and that's about it. It's extremely vulgar, it's extremely raunchy, it's got like a lot of foul-mouthed dialogue and swearing, even though it may not look like that. You look at these images and you might be thinking like, wow, this just looks, this doesn't in any way look like it would be that kind of show, but it is. Despite all the pretty colors, this is a very, very foul show. And normally that kind of humor would not work for me. I really don't like that kind of like foul, raunchy humor and tons of swearing and excessive swearing and characters just being like as foul and disgusting as possible. But believe it or not, I really liked Panty and Stocking. It's just one of those shows that like goes so far in that direction. It goes so extreme with its style of humor, combined with the animation, which is really fun and really weird and different. It obviously on the surface it mostly resembles like old Cartoon Network cartoons. It has that super flat style. It celebrates that pretty strongly throughout the whole show. But there's also lots of switch-ups in animation, like right here, for example, where you see all kinds of different techniques being utilized. And yeah, if I had to compare this show to anything outside of all the swearing and raunchiness, I would say it has the most in common with like Pop Team Epic or Excel Saga, only in the sense that, like those shows, it really is just completely off the rails with like its structure and how the stories play out, and like how random it can be with its story. Like, very surreal, silly humor. So like anything goes in this show. It's not trying to tell like a consistent overarching plot or anything. It's just complete nonsense. But it's the best kind of nonsense if you like those other shows. But unlike those other shows, if you are not, if you are somebody who really hates like too much swearing or raunchiness or just complete over the top vulgarity, because this is definitely the most vulgar, raunchy anime of all time. There's a lot of that in this freaking show, man. We're talking like South Park levels of vulgarity. But again, to me, it works in this show just because it's still undoubtedly an anime. It still has that radical, extreme stylization to it, and it manages to be just as beautiful as it is disgusting. Believe it or not, it's that combination that just kind of works for me. It's just seeing these like cutesy, cute as hell, uh, angel anime girls swearing and cursing and being so foul. I think that right there is the central joke that makes this show work so well. You know, and now there's a new season called New Panty and Stocking, 15 years later, that looks exactly the same, has the same exact art style. It's extremely faithful to the original series. Trigger bought the rights. You know, the original director, Imaishi, is the founder of Trigger, and he worked on the original at Gainax. So they finally got the rights and continued the show. And it's actually really funny how cleanly this show continues where the original season left off. Even though it's been 15 years, it even makes a joke about that, about how it's like been 15 years, but the show itself it's just directly after the first season, which is especially incredible considering the first season does end on a very comical cliffhanger, and that cliffhanger is resolved in the first episode of this new season. It's phenomenal. If you have the stomach for it, because again, it's really gross, it's really raunchy, and it is extremely vulgar. So like, I could totally understand being people turned off by this anime in a number of ways, but for me, it's a cocktail that just kind of works. You know, it just kind of works. So yeah, it's cool to have Panty and Stocking back. And yes, it's still every bit as vulgar and raunchy as it was in the first season. So anybody who was worried about it being more tame now, that doesn't seem to be the case from the first couple episodes that I saw. So, finally, last but certainly not least, we have My Dress Up Darling Season 2. I never talked about the first season of My Dress Up Darling on here. I want to say that what I love about this show, this slice of life romantic comedy here, is that it celebrates a type of like anime fan slash cosplayer that we don't really see represented a whole lot in anime prior to this, I want to say. Not quite this way. Like, Marin is a very extroverted, the main character here, this chick, this blonde chick, she's a very extroverted, very popular, very, very, like, well-adjusted, and very, very confident chick, who is also a huge anime nerd, who loves to cosplay, loves to dress up as her favorite characters, and she's also hot. So, like, I feel like this is a type of nerd we don't get represented very often. And it's kind of a shame because for the longest time, of course, it's always the stereotype that nerds have to be shut-ins, they have to be, you know, shy introverts, they can't be confident, they can't have friends. This show is the reverse of that, because the main character, Marin, is actually the nerdy one. She's the otaku that loves to cosplay. She's head over heels passionate about this stuff. And she meets a guy who is the shy, introverted dude, who's very sensitive, very slow to make friends and such. And he has a hobby that is totally different from hers, which is he likes to dress up and make outfits for dolls. So, like, that's where you get the title, My Dress Up Darling, is that he knows how to do that stuff, and it's a hobby he has that he's kind of embarrassed about. And then he meets this girl who thinks it's really cool because he can make outfits, he can design outfits and stuff, and she's a cosplayer who loves to dress up, but she doesn't know how to, like, make costumes and stuff. So they end up forming this relationship that starts out as just like he knows how to make outfits for her. She really loves doing it. He really loves doing it for her. And then, of course, they grow closer and they start to get all lovey-dovey. And it turns into a really sweet romance anime as well. And yeah, it's also a gorgeous looking show, beautifully animated. This is from Cloverworks Animation. Season 2, I didn't think it was possible for season 2 to look even more beautiful than season 1, but holy hell, this anime is fantastically beautiful. I mean, extremely lifelike, very incredibly minute details and animations that you just don't see very often in this medium, or any animation medium when it comes to TV. It's very pretty, it's very nice, and also really funny and really sweet. So yeah, there's also plenty of fan service because, you know, Marin is also really hot and she's cosplaying all the time. So this show definitely gets to have its wholesome sweetness and its fan service too. So it's a win-win for everybody. Yeah, definitely check out My Dress Up Darling Season 1 if you haven't caught up. And Season 2 is airing now on Crunchyroll. And yeah, Turkey is also on Crunchyroll. I didn't mention that. I'm all over the place, guys. There's just so much anime to talk about. I'm all over the place, all right? It hasn't been easy making this video. It hasn't been easy. I had to watch a lot of shit. But I'm very impressed with this summer season. Of course, we still have Dawn to Dawn Season 2 and Call of the Night Season 2, which I covered in a previous video. And yeah, it's been an amazing season of anime. This is one of the best summers I think we've had in a long time for anime. So, yeah. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. You know, have you watched any of these shows I've mentioned? Are you interested in any of them? Are you watching stuff that maybe I should be covering that I haven't covered on here? Something I should be watching? Let me know. But until next time, you get to burning and live for the passion.